Did you hear that? I think it's in the house.
Oh my god, what was that?
On the first night, my breathing went out of rhythm. It seemed that another breath that wasn't mine was trying to control the air. The shadows on the ceiling didn't follow the light as usual. My name appeared in my head clearly, as if someone were calling me from the inside, Michael. On the second day, in the shower, the steam drew 3 letters on the glass from the inside, C-O-L. I wiped them off with my hand. They came back later, in my head, the same way. On the third day, in the bathroom mirror, I saw my face, and behind my shoulder, not the room, a forest. It wasn't sharp, but you could feel it. I got goosebumps. I held on until the 4th day. Sarah called 9 times. I answered on the 10th. She said, "You opened it and left in the middle. For them, when you open it, it's an invitation. Emily isn't alone, and that board isn't just a window. It's a habit." I asked how to close it. She said, "To close it is to return what isn't yours, and that has a price." I asked what. She said, admitting that a part of you liked being noticed. I fell silent. She asked, "Come today, before midnight. Bring something that anchors you here, something real." I brought my keys, my dad's old tape measure, and a wedding ring I bought a long time ago for no reason. I can't explain it. Things that have weight help. I arrived at the building at 11:37. The hallway creaked as if repeating my name, and the wood made a noise at the same interval. Sarah opened the door looking tired. Marcus was dejected. David stared fixedly at a point and muttered numbers under his breath. I later understood it was to calm himself. We sat on the floor, around the board. The room was silent. Outside, the city went on normally. A distant siren, laughter in the street, a skateboard passing by. Sarah asked, "Is anyone here with us?" The planchette went straight to yes. "What's your name?" she asked. The planchette spelled out E-M-I-L-Y. At that moment, the air got very cold. I felt a strong shiver down the back of my neck and a knot in my stomach. "When did you die?" Sarah asked. The board showed 1892. How? M-U-R-D-E-R-E-D. By whom? H-U-S-B-A-N-D. The candles flickered. The flame of one of them turned blue at the tip. I felt a cold wind coming from inside the house, as if the cold came out of the walls and floor and stopped right at the base of my neck. Marcus asked, "Emily, are you here now?" The planchette went to yes, fast, as if it were in a hurry. The atmosphere became heavy, especially on my side, as if something had chosen me.
Sarah spoke to me without taking her eyes off the board. "Michael, don't take your fingers off." I, on impulse, lifted a finger a little. At that moment, I felt something very cold blow inside my ear, as if someone said, "Don't." I put my finger back right away. I felt embarrassed, not knowing by whom. Sarah asked, "Can you tell us where your body is?" The planchette spelled out, "Forest, west of Columbus." Then, cold, so cold. David asked, "Is anyone else there with you?" Immediately, the wall on the left side seemed to make a low sound, as if someone whispered inside. The turned-off TV showed a streak of light for a second. I wanted to believe it was just a reflection, but it didn't seem like it. The rule was, at the end, always close the session. I couldn't take it anymore. I pushed the chair and stood up. At that moment, I felt as if I had torn something in the air. Sarah screamed, "Michael, no!" The planchette rushed to goodbye, but it stopped just before. It didn't close. I left quickly. The hallway had a faint yellow light. The carpet muffled my steps. I went down the stairs almost running. Outside, normal life. The smell of pizza, laughter, a damp handrail. But on my shoulder remained something that wasn't imagination, the sensation of a cold hand. It came with me in the car. It slept in my room. It woke up before me.
Sarah remade the salt circle on the floor and marked 4 points with charcoal. If you hear your own name, don't answer. Thinking is already dangerous, but answering is worse, she said. I pointed to the points and asked what they were. She said, "They are places where things have already entered. Today, don't touch the west side." Why? Because the west side today is hungry. The board was in the center, a little to the side, the planchette in the middle, a bowl with water next to it. The water trembled on its own, as if someone were breathing nearby. She placed me facing the west side, Marcus to the left, David to the right. She stood in front of me on the other side. She said she would close the north. We put our fingers on the planchette. "Is anyone here?" she asked. The yes came instantly. "Emily, you took something that isn't yours," Sarah said. The planchette didn't move. The water tilted just a little, as if to say, "Yes." "You took his name." I felt my name being pulled in my ear. Michael. "His name is not a home. His name is a one-way path." The planchette spelled out W-A-I-T, and I waited. "Do you want justice?" R-E-V-E-N-G-E. "Do you want to rest?" Y-E-S. "Will you go if he pays?" Y-E-S. Marcus chimed in. "And how do we do that?" The planchette. H-W-R. N-U-M-B-E-R. M-A-P. Meaning numbers, dig, map. The image came into my head, out of nowhere. A trail west of Hilliard, Ohio. A clearing, a fallen log. 2 feet of earth, fabric. The mouth fills with dirt before the nose. I almost vomited. Sarah saw and plunged my hand into a bowl of cold water. Focus here. A pain you understand beats a pain that pulls you in. David asked if the husband was still alive. The planchette. Husband. Yes. Suburbs. Westerville. Marcus repeated low, Westerville. Sarah said, "We'll find it, but you need to leave the way you came in." The planchette spelled out, "No, back open." At that moment, I felt there was more there, not just Emily. Several ways to die seemed close, as if the board also called out to that. Hanging, drowning, cutting, burning, crushing, not in words, in sensation. Sarah spoke to me firmly. "It's going to hurt. You're going to let her see through you, just for a second. Don't feed it. When I say so, cut it off." What if I can't? Then we'll try the other way. I took a deep breath. I let go. First, I felt cold in my arm, then a tingling in my neck, then a weight on my forehead. In seconds, I was breathing as if I were in her skin. The air tasted of wet earth and iron. The hands on my back felt familiar. The scene came, hands tied, a knee pressing on my back, air getting shorter and shorter until it became a tunnel. Sarah said, "Now," and pulled me back as if there was a rope tied to my chest. I came back all at once, dizzy. The planchette slipped and hit goodbye. The candles flickered, the water smoothed, the bad smell faded. Silence. Marcus asked if it was over. Sarah said, "For her, yes, but there's more. The door learned your name. Names call other names." On the glass, from the inside, there was the mark of a thin hand with a crooked pinky finger. It looked like a thank you, and also a warning. After that, things didn't go back to normal, but they stopped getting worse. I started to notice small signs, a light that always went out when I passed, the elevator that took a little longer to close, the phone that rang once in the middle of the night and stopped. Marcus moved away. David started using headphones almost all the time to muffle the silence. Sarah disappeared from college. 20 years passed. I lived my life as best I could. I got married, had a daughter, worked. I avoided everything that reminded me of Salem and boards. 3 months ago, it all started again. The smell of dead tulips came back strong. On the window glass, written backwards, appeared SALEM, and this time it really scratched the glass. I started seeing the board in random places, in a TV show, in an old photo, in a store that no longer existed the next day. Every time the planchette's scratch seemed closer. The dreams also came back. A hallway of doors, all with fingernail marks. From behind one, the sound of water singing a lullaby. From behind another, the heavy silence of a rope.
The doorknobs turned slowly, as if to say, "We know who you are."
Last week, my wife took our daughter to her mother's house. She said I was acting strange, that I talked to myself, that I woke up in the middle of the night and stared at the corner. I couldn't explain without making things worse. Early this morning, a whole phrase appeared on the glass backward. "It's not just Emily. The bridge is hungry." Now you understand why this isn't just a scary story. It's a warning. That night, Sarah texted me, "Come before midnight. We need to try to close it for good." I went. I arrived at the building. The hallway was quieter than normal. The yellow light seemed faint. I rang the doorbell. Sarah opened the door quickly. She looked tired but focused. Marcus was pale. David was silent, looking at the floor. Sarah had already prepared the room. On the floor, she made a circle with salt. At 4 points, she placed charcoal marks. The board was in the center. To the side, a metal bowl with water. She spoke looking at the three of us. Rule 1, no one speaks the spirit's name. Rule 2, if you hear your own name in your head, don't answer. Rule 3, no one takes their fingers off the planchette until I say so. Rule 4, if I say now, you pull your mind back without thinking. I sat facing the board, Marcus to the left, David to the right. Sarah was in front of me on the other side. We began. Sarah asked, "Is anyone here?" The planchette went to yes. "Is it Emily?" The planchette was still for a second and then went to yes. "Emily, do you want justice?" REVENGE.
Please like and subscribe.
Do you want to rest? Yes. YES. Sarah took a deep breath. "Then we need to do it the right way. You need to leave the same way you came in." The planchette stopped. Then it spelled out NO. Then BACKOKEN. I understood. It wasn't just Emily. There were more things there, other presences, other deaths. The board seemed to call out these ways to die as well, as if it kept them. The room became heavy with an atmosphere difficult to explain. Sarah spoke to me. "Michael, I need you to let Emily see through you for a moment. It will be quick. You can't resist and you can't feed it. When I say now, you come back." I said I would try. I rested my fingers on the planchette. I closed my eyes. I tried to release just a little, as if opening a crack. Right away, I felt cold in my arm, a tingling in my neck, and a slight weight on my forehead. Then my breathing changed. The air seemed to taste of earth and iron. The scene came as a sensation. Hands tied, a knee on my back, the floor wet, little air. It was Emily dying. It wasn't a movie, it was physical. I started to lose control.
Now. And she pulled my hand into the cold water. It was as if my name pulled me back from the inside. I came back with a shock. The planchette rushed and hit goodbye. The candles flickered. The water became still. The bad smell diminished. We were silent. Marcus asked, "Is it over?" Sarah replied, For her, yes, but there's more. The door recognized Michael's name. That attracts other things. I looked at the window. On the inside of the glass was the mark of a thin hand with a crooked pinky finger. It looked like a thank you, and also a be careful. We went back home. That night at 3:17, I woke up with the sensation that someone sat at the foot of the bed. No one was there. The room became cold on one side only. Then it normalized. I thought, thank you, without speaking, and I slept. In the following weeks, I started to notice small signs. A light always went out when I passed. The elevator took a little longer to close when I got in. The phone would ring once in the middle of the night and stop. Marcus moved away. David started using headphones almost all the time. Sarah disappeared from college. I lived my life as best I could. I got married, had a daughter, worked. I avoided everything about boards and Salem. 3 months ago, it all started again. First came the smell. Dead tulips, strong, inside the house. Then on the window glass, written backward, S-A-L-E-M. This time, it really scratched the glass. I started seeing the board in random places. A TV show scene, an old photo, a store window that no longer existed the next day. Every time, the planchette's scratch was clearly visible, as if it were getting closer. The dreams also came back. I walked down a hallway of doors. All of them had fingernail marks. From behind one came the sound of water singing a lullaby. From behind another, the heavy silence of a still rope. The doorknobs turned slowly, as if someone on the other side was saying, "We know who you are." Last week, my wife took our daughter to her mother's house. She said I was acting strange, that I talked to myself, that I woke up in the middle of the night and stared at the corner. I couldn't explain without making things worse. Now. And she pulled my hand into the cold water. It was as if my name pulled me back from the inside. I came back with a shock. The planchette rushed and hit goodbye. The candles flickered. The water became still. The bad smell diminished. We were silent. Marcus asked, "Is it over?" Sarah replied, "For her, yes, but there's more." The door recognized Michael's name. That attracts other things. I looked at the window. On the inside of the glass was the mark of a thin hand with a crooked pinky finger. It looked like a thank you, and also a be careful. We went back home. That night at 3:17, I woke up with the sensation that someone sat at the foot of the bed. No one was there. The room became cold on one side only. Then it normalized. I thought, thank you, without speaking, and I slept. In the following weeks, I started to notice small signs. A light always went out when I passed. The elevator took a little longer to close when I got in.
The phone would ring once in the middle of the night and stop. Marcus moved away. David started using headphones almost all the time. Sarah disappeared from college. I lived my life as best I could. I got married, had a daughter, worked. I avoided everything about boards and Salem. 3 months ago, it all started again. First came the smell. Dead tulips, strong, inside the house. Then on the window glass, written backward, S-A-L-E-M. This time, it really scratched the glass. I started seeing the board in random places. A TV show scene, an old photo, a store window that no longer existed the next day. Every time, the planchette's scratch was clearly visible, as if it were getting closer. The dreams also came back. I walked down a hallway of doors. All of them had fingernail marks. From behind one came the sound of water singing a lullaby. From behind another, the heavy silence of a still rope. The doorknobs turned slowly, as if someone on the other side was saying, "We know who you are." Last week, my wife took our daughter to her mother's house. She said I was acting strange, that I talked to myself, that I woke up in the middle of the night and stared at the corner. I couldn't explain without making things worse. Early this morning, a whole phrase appeared on the glass, backward. It's not just Emily. The bridge is hungry. I understood. The problem wasn't just Emily. It was the path that was open. It was the habit of the board. It was a place asking for more. I decided to go back to Sarah's building. I arrived on High Street near midnight. I went up. Apartment 4C was empty. No furniture. The door opened by itself. I went in. The board was hanging on the wall, like a painting. No one put it there. It seemed to be part of the place. I stood in the middle of the room. I didn't call. Emily appeared. Not with a scare. First as cold, then as a shadow, then as a form. The heavy dress, the marked hands. I thought, thank you. One side of the room got colder. I felt it was a response. Behind her, I noticed other things, not people, ways of dying. The board vibrated as if it were eager. I spoke simply. I didn't come to play, I came to close what I left open. The wall creaked, like an old door. I said, if I let you pass, you'll destroy everything. The room became heavier, as if to confirm. So give me back what's mine, and go back. The planchette didn't go to goodbye right away. It spun on itself, drawing circles as if untying a knot. I called my name from the inside, Michael. It sounds silly, but it worked. I felt that the failure recognized me as the owner, not of the board, but of the part I had opened. I said, now, go back. The room got very cold. Emily took a step back, as if something pulled her. And then, one by one, the doors I saw in my dreams began to close. Each death
made one last noise: rope, water, knife, fire, earth. It wasn't pretty, but it was clear. The things went back. When it was over, the building seemed to breathe. The hum of the light stopped. The bad smell was gone. Emily stayed a little longer. I asked in my head, "Do you want justice?" A clear image came. Westerville, a house, a middle-aged man, a younger woman, a dog that barks at the basement, a basement that hides things.
I said, "I can't do justice with my own hands, but I can tell. I can warn." There was no smile, but her dress seemed lighter, her hands less bound. The planchette finally went to goodbye and stopped there, quiet. I left the apartment. The street was normal, people talking loudly, cars passing, life going on. A few days later, I sent an anonymous letter to the police with a map and coordinates west of Hilliard, Ohio. 2 weeks later, a news story came out. Human remains found in wooded area. I knew what it was about. Since then, I haven't seen "open" on the glass. Every now and then, "come back" appears, as if they are testing. I take a deep breath and think, not today. My wife came back. I told her the basics. She understood enough to stay. My daughter stopped drawing backward words. Today, I don't say I believe in ghosts. I say I believe in habits. I believe that some objects learn from those who use them. I believe that some places get hungry when they repeat the same kind of tragedy for many years. And I believe that names open doors when we answer without thinking. If this story grabbed your attention and made you think twice before messing with an old board, do this now. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like. Comment if you want a continuation and what you would do in my place. This helps the channel a lot to grow and takes this warning to more people. And please, if one day someone calls you by name from a place where a voice doesn't belong, don't answer. Words are doors, and some doors can never be closed again.
I don't believe in ghosts. I say this while looking at the foggy reflection in my bedroom window in Columbus, Ohio, as a hand that isn't mine appears from behind my shoulder and writes on the cold glass, as if writing from the inside out, "Come back." There's no one in the room. The apartment is locked from the inside, and yet the word remains, slow, trembling, as if the fingers were still there. My name is Michael Thompson. I'm 40 years old. I live in Ohio, and 20 years ago, I did something stupid enough to stick to me like a rotten smell that no hot water or bleach can remove. I'm not superstitious. I'm a trained civil engineer. I hear noises, identify vibration, calculate wind and weight. And yet, every night, when the pipes cool and the building breathes, I hear my name coming from a spot where there's nothing to vibrate. It was on a Thursday night in 2004 at the University at Albany that I did the most stupid thing anyone can do.
I thought I could play with something I don't understand and control the ending. One night, some college acquaintances called me for a different experience. It was a game with spirits, using a Ouija board. At first, I refused. I always thought it was nonsense, stuff to scare freshmen. But Sarah, who was part of the group, spoke with a certainty that unnerved me. She said her grandmother, from Salem, had been dabbling in these things for decades and had left her an old board of dark wood full of marks. It's not a store-bought toy, she emphasized. It's a family heirloom, and tonight we're going to use it. Marcus, the one with the easy smile, put on the pressure as always. Relax, Mike. It'll be quick. It's just a test. David stood by me at first, a little suspicious, but curiosity won. In the end, I accepted for 2 reasons. Because I didn't want to be the only killjoy of the night, and because deep down, I wanted to prove that none of it worked. We arrived at Sarah's apartment in Columbus. The living room was almost dark, only lit by candles. She arranged everything as if she knew exactly what she was doing. She placed the board on the floor, spread the candles, asked for silence. She said, "There are rules. We open with respect, no one takes their fingers off the planchette, and at the end, we close. Always close." I asked where the board came from. She said, "From my grandmother," she repeated. "She taught me the right way." That sounded like theater to me, until I touched the wood. It was genuinely old. The letters were hand-painted, and the planchette had a strange scratch in the center of the glass, as if someone had tried to scratch it from the inside out.